So I was just on the phone with a client and he was complaining about the work he needed to do in order to lose weight. So I thought I'd tell you exactly what the mental model you need and the mathematical equation you need in order to make losing weight seamless, and you know exactly what you need to change, and there's no guessing games. Because that's what makes losing weight difficult, is that you think that it's this holistic approach where you just need to eat healthy and do more cardio, and because you're not really tracking and you don't know the exact metrics and the inputs that you need to change in order to lose weight, to make it nothing more than a mathematical equation, losing weight can be systematic. So I'm going to walk through exactly what you need to know in order to lose weight. So one is the mental model. So when you are going through a weight loss journey, of course you understand to some degree that it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be what you want in terms of feeling good and eating out and all that kind of thing. But some people haven't really made that true mental switch in their mind to really understand that they need to go through a little bit of pain to get the result. So this is what makes it difficult, because you're so used to your old life of going out and snacking and eating chips on the couch watching Netflix and all that kind of thing, that you haven't made that true switch in your mind to actually change your mentality of what the work is required in order to lose the weight. And it does make it easier when you understand the exact metrics and the mathematical equation that you need to change in order to lose weight. But one is you need to knuckle down the mentality behind it. And this was the biggest thing for me that held me back as well, because I would only stick to it a few days out of the week at a time. And because I wasn't sticking to it consistently, over the weeks and over the months, the averages worked out that I wasn't making any real change. I would just be uncomfortable for a few days, I'd be on it and I'd be locked in, and then I'd fall off after it. And then if you average out over the week, I hadn't made any true progress towards my calorie deficit and my weight loss journey that I wanted to do. So the first thing you need to do is really lock down that mentality that you do need to go through a little bit of pain. You need to make that handshake deal to yourself and that promise to yourself that I'm going to go through a little bit of pain. It's not going to be drastic. It's not going to be, you're going to be crawling on the floor, like asking for food and rocking back and forth, and you can't think about anything and you're hungry all the time. No, it's not going to be that bad, but you do need to make the acceptance, have that acceptance in your mind that you're going to have moments throughout every single day for a short period of time, 2 months, 3 months, that you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. If you're not willing to pay the price of a little bit of uncomfortability, you're not going to get the result. That's the promise that I can make to you. But if you can make that handshake deal with yourself and really, really understand that you're going to go through a little bit, you're going to go through a little bit of uncomfortability, and you will get the result if you stick to it consistently. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, if you can stick to it, you will get the result. So that's that mental model switch that you need to change. It's not all about doing the calorie deficit and the cardio. The true change and the true key factor that's going to keep you locked in and really attribute towards your success on this journey is that you understand the switch in your mind that you need to make. Once that happens, once you actually do that, that's when the progress comes. So that's the first key thing you need to change if you want to lose weight. Start with the mind. It all starts with the mind. The second thing is the mathematical equation to losing weight. So when I was younger, trying to go on a weight loss journey, trying to get rid of that skinny fat look and all that kind of thing, and all the tools that I had in my toolkit was to train harder, was to try and watch what I eat and eat high protein foods, and try and do more cardio, more going out for runs and that kind of thing. And that's exactly what held me back and why my body looked the exact same for multiple years. Even though I would go through periods of doing cardio, going for runs and watching what I eat, and then I'd fall off because I saw no progress, and back and forth. And over years and years and years, I never had any true deficit phases or true lean gain phases because I was just constantly yo-yoing because I couldn't stick to a program. So this is the key thing that I needed to change, is to have a true understanding of what the metrics are, the inputs, because losing weight is a mathematical equation. That's what you need to understand. There's no questions around it. There's no guessing games. This is the key thing that you can change. So one is you have a few inputs. One is your food. Two is cardio. And these are the main things that you have at your disposal. Now there's some sub topics to that. With your food, you can put yourself in a calorie deficit. That's obvious, we know that. But you can actually lose weight still eating at your maintenance calories, but you just need to change the other inputs to compensate. So, in order to lose 1 kilo a week, you need to be in a 1,100 calorie deficit per day. Because losing 1 kilo is 7,700 calories. If you average that out over a week, you know you need to put yourself in a 1,100 calorie deficit. So for an average, say 80 kilo man, your maintenance calories will be around 2,600 calories, for example. So how do we get to a 1,100 calorie deficit starting at a maintenance calories of 2,600? We can play with the deficit of the food, or we can play with the cardio, the input. So I like to do a 750 calorie deficit in terms of the food. So maybe we drop that down to 2,000 calories. Now we've already achieved roughly a 600 calorie deficit from there, 600 to 700 calorie deficit just on the food basis. Now that's not enough to lose 1 kilo a week. The main thing that you can change on top of that is the cardio aspect. Now there's a few tools in that toolkit when it comes to cardio. You have one, which is the easiest one, the low intensity one, is doing your steps. Now I made fun of people for the longest time for doing their steps and watching their step count and closing their Apple rings on their watch. I'd curse them out, I'd laugh at them and that kind of thing. And now I'm tracking my steps all the time. So it's funny how life does the full circle. So doing steps is one of the best tools that you have. So a good target for you to aim for is 10,000 steps. So roughly for say an 80 kilo man that does 10k steps, they're gonna burn roughly 500 calories. Now that's going to change depending on your body weight kind of thing. So if you're a lighter man, say you're 50 kilos and you do 10k steps, you're not going to burn as much. You're not going to burn 500 calories. It might be 350. So you need to take that into account when you're doing these sums. But say for the example of the 80 kilo man, so now he's doing 10k steps every single day and he's in a 700 calorie deficit in terms of food. So 700 plus 500, there's 1,200 calories worth of deficit that we can accrue each day. Now, this will put us on track to lose 1 kilo a week if we hit those metrics. Now, because these are all just rough estimates, we don't know exactly scientifically. I can't go put it in one of those macro calculators, those body weight calculators, what your true maintenance calories are. Everyone's body is different, and this is where the first few weeks are that teasing period of trying to figure out exactly the inputs that we need to change. So if you find for that first week, the first 2 weeks, that you're not losing a kilo a week on that, you have a few things to play with. You can either, one, drop your food a little bit more. Now, if you're someone that isn't good with managing your food and managing your hunger, it's much easier for most people to increase their output. So either bump up the steps, go from 10k to 13k steps, or if you don't have the time to do all those steps, still keep 10k as a basis. Like just 8k steps a day is like a good health guideline just for the everyday person. Doesn't matter if you're bulking, cutting, you're just a regular person. It's like eating healthy. You should be doing at least 8k steps a day, no matter what. That's the baseline. So we're only asking for an extra 2k here to put you on your weight loss journey. So what you can do instead is do higher intensity cardio. Now this will achieve, say, the same calorie output, but it's going to decrease that time investment that you need to make. Now this is where you have all these inputs at your disposal. You have your food, you have your steps as cardio, you have higher intensity cardio, you have these things in your toolkit in order to lose the weight, but you need to assess for yourself which ones are your weak links. For me, I can put myself in a calorie deficit, and I can feel that hunger and that pain a little bit, and I can level it off with the cardio aspect. So I can go 50-50 in terms of that. But maybe you're someone that food is their real vice. It's really tough for you to be in that hunger state. So I would touch less of the food. You're still going to need to put yourself in a calorie deficit overall, but you can say do a 40-60 split in terms of where you're getting your 1,100 calorie deficit from, or a 30-70, whatever you want to do. It's all about what works for your lifestyle. You have these inputs, X, Y, Z, and in order to add them up to equal 1,100, you've got a few things that you can play with. Now, you need to accept that these are the variables that you have, and if you change them and you adjust them from week to week, there's no rocket science to this. It's all just assessing the inputs and seeing what the output is, the body weight change. And if you're getting those results, you can stick to it. But if, say, you're losing weight at half a kilo a week and you want to be losing weight at a faster rate, then you have a few variables that you can adjust. You can either put the food down, but if you don't want to play with your food too much, then you can up the cardio, up the steps, or add in an extra session of incline treadmill, or being on the rower, or a jog, or whatever it is, and you can increase the calories for less time investment. So if you're a busy person that doesn't have the time to go for 2-3 hours worth of steps per day, then maybe you shoot for still 8 to 10k worth of steps per day, but then you're going to need to put in that investment in terms of your energy output. It's going to be more taxing on your nervous system to do higher intensity cardio, which is why at the start I don't like to recommend that, because when you're in a calorie deficit, you have a limited amount of energy and your nervous system is running very slowly. And if you're doing high intensity cardio, your gym sessions, your power output sessions are gonna suffer. So this is the trade-off. But at the end of the day, it's best to just knock off the fat quickly and then go back into a lean gain phase after. People always argue and get worried about losing muscle in a cut. But the important thing to note is that when you've already built up that muscle, you've already built up those neural pathways, those motor neurons, those connections are there. So even if you reduce the muscle size because you're in a calorie deficit slightly, you still need to be in an extreme state to achieve that. But say you do lose 10% worth of muscle, you're gonna put it on so much quicker than if you're building it from scratch. This is the key thing that people don't understand, because you've already built those pathways. So if you lose a little bit of muscle in the process of being in a cut, but you get rid of all that body fat, then you go back into a lean gain phase, you're gonna put that muscle back on quickly, versus if you're starting from scratch, you don't have that muscle to begin with, there's a huge time investment there to put on that initial muscle. So don't worry about losing muscle in a cut. Not only does it need to be really extreme to do that and over a long period of time, but even if you do, you're going to put it on very quickly when you go back into a lean gain phase. So these are the metrics, the mathematical equation that you have to play with. One is the mindset that you need to understand that this is going to be uncomfortable, slightly uncomfortable, and you need to make that real and honest handshake deal with yourself that I'm going to go through a little bit of discomfort and I'm going to get the results. Two, how do I change the mathematical equation, the inputs, to gain the outcome that I want? If you want a kilo a week down, then you need to put yourself in a 1,100 calorie deficit. You have a few things to play with, and it doesn't come down to a question of a holistic approach of I need to eat healthier or I need to do more cardio, because that's what held me back. I would go for runs, I'd go for long 10-kilometer runs a couple of times a week kind of thing, and I'd absolutely destroy myself. I'd be so tired, I wouldn't be able to train properly the next day and all that kind of thing, and I wasn't losing any fat, wasn't losing any weight, because I'd be so hungry after those runs, because I didn't realize that being in a calorie deficit and then doing high intensity cardio for such a long time is going to trigger that hunger response even more. So it's going to make it a lot harder to stay in a calorie deficit when you are doing high intensity cardio, and that's why I don't like to recommend doing that too much. And these are the main things that will put you towards your weight loss goal. Change the mindset, change the inputs, and it becomes nothing more than science, nothing more than an equation. This is what holds everyone back, is because they just have that holistic approach, that holistic mindset of try. It's exactly like having a budget. When you are in a saving mode, you're trying to buy a car or a house deposit, whatever it is. And if you tell yourself, you know exactly, I need to spend, I'm only allowed to spend $40 per day on all the necessities that I need. You know, if you hit that goal, that target of $40 per day, you know for a fact, for a scientific fact, mathematical equations worked out, I'm going to hit my saving goal in X amount of time, whatever it is. But if every day you're just thinking, oh, I need to watch what I buy, I'm going out for a coffee, or maybe I shouldn't buy that coffee, or whatever it is. It's going to constantly be on your mind, and you're not going to really know the inputs that you're putting in, and you can't boil it down to a true systematic approach where you get those results. So it's the exact same thing as having a budget, a calorie budget. So take this advice on board. I promise you, if you actually employ these and you use these tactics, make that mindset switch and work out the mathematical equation that's going to work for your body in order to lose the weight systematically, I promise you will lose the weight. I promise. So make sure you do this. Watch a few quick YouTube videos of how to track calories and the best forms of cardio for you that's going to work for you. How to eat high volume food so you can go through a calorie deficit a little bit easier. Like, don't be eating rice, have potatoes instead because it's higher volume. All of these little tricks and tips that you can do for yourself to make these inputs even easier, because people can put themselves in a calorie deficit and they can eat small portions of food and high density foods, and then your meal's over in 5 minutes. But you can be smart with this. You can still be in a calorie deficit but eat more food by having higher volume food that has lower calories. So there's all these little things that you can do to make each of these inputs. Not only do you know the exact number that you need to hit for these inputs, but you can make them easier to withstand the pain of each of those inputs. And once you employ this, I promise you will get the results. If you need any help with this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, send me a DM. I'm willing to answer any questions you might have to help you along your journey. And I know this is going to work for you.